And we are live. Hi, everyone. Welcome to this month's Dapr community call. My name is Dana. I'm one of the community managers here for the Dapr project, and I'm here together with my co-host, Mark.
Hey everyone.
So if this is the first time you're joining one of our community calls, welcome. We do this once a month, and we highlight different topics that are relevant to the Dapr community. So today we actually have a very interesting agenda. Mark and I are going to quickly talk about Dapr Day because Dapr Day is happening again this year and actually pretty soon in just a few weeks. And then you will hear more about Dapr and OpenAI. So Mark, maybe we can dive into really quickly about
Yes.
the Dapr Day stuff. Yeah.
Dapr Day. Yeah. So the call for papers is just closed yesterday. So the program committee, which consists of like 6 people, need to work hard now and need this week to actually create the agenda. And as you can see, the event itself is online. It will be held on November the 5th. It's like for like a half a day conference. And so please register. I'll also share the link here as well. Here we go. There will be like end user case studies, how to run Dapr in production, sessions about like workflow and sessions about AI. So it's going to be quite a good, diverse, Dapr focused event. Definitely hope to see you all there. All right.
Nice.
And then I think it's time to add our 2 speakers. So we have Filinto and Bilgin from Digit talking about Dapr and OpenAI SDK. Welcome, gentlemen.
Welcome.
Hello.
Let me actually stop sharing my screen so you can share this. There we go. All right. Yeah, the stage is yours.
Cool. Thanks, Mark. Hi, everyone. My name is Bilgin Ibrahim. I'm a product manager at Tigrit, and I have my colleague Flinto with me. Here we are going to share something that we've been working on recently. It's still work in progress, but we want to share that to get feedback and any thoughts you may have. If we proceed to the agenda, really we're going to talk about what is Dapr for agents? Why are we building? Why are we building it? And we're going to show a demo. Let's get started. If you briefly look at microservices and agents, right? The definition for microservices is what? It's an architectural style of designing distributed systems with services that are composed of single capability. Typically, you use some practices such as domain-driven design to identify the boundaries. You encapsulate your implementation behind an API. You make the services ideally stateless, so all the state is externally. You access the state with some kind of a data access layer, and you externalize all other dependencies. Conceptually, this is how, in my mind, I imagine microservices. If I do a parallel to an agent, let's say agent is probably a smaller construct. It can be part of a microservice or part of monolith, right? An agent typically of course, it will have an API to access an agent, but typically you interact with an agent using instructions, prompts. The business logic of an agent, if there is a business logic, I would say it's composed of all the knowledge of your language model, of the LLM, plus the instructions you're giving in the form of system instructions, various prompts, context, etc. If that agent needs to access some kind of state, it does it through memory. It's called memory, right? Memory abstraction. And if it wants to interact with some kind of external dependencies, that's happening with tools. So this kind of my mental model of these 2 domains. Now, if you look into Dapr, proceed. Let's say Dapr was created for distributed applications and microservices, and is specifically designed to address these challenges of microservices. For example, state management API is here to help you externalize state from your microservice or another application, another type of application to an external store, so it can be stateless. The microservices here says use lightweight messaging protocols rather than something like an ESB, right? That's why we have PubSub API. You can use bindings to talk to external systems, secrets and configuration API to externalize everything that's environment specific, right? And actors and workflows, these are specifically programming models that you can use and so forth. Then we also have cross-cutting concerns that apply, to all kind of microservices and distributed applications. That also helps with observability, security, and resiliency. So that's why I think Dapr, as it is with these APIs and components, is really great for pure microservices and distributed apps. Now, if you go forward, say, what is Dapr for agents? As I said, agents today have a pretty well-established understanding what's an agent, and there are a couple of, concepts. If you go to any agentic framework, you'll see in their website there are concepts such as memory, MCP, handoffs, etc., guardrails, etc. Right? And for example, when you're creating an agent, you use the concept of memory. That can be short-term memory, which kind of represents a user session when you are interacting with agent back and forth, right? That you can think of the different chat sessions you have in ChatGPT on the left-hand side. These are short-term sessions. It can be long-term, where you store the data somewhere else. So there is a memory abstraction, but behind the scene, it kind of corresponds to different state stores. Now, there are variations. For example, memory can also have additional capabilities such as summarization. It may be using vector store, not only always key value store, right? There are variations, but it's quite similar to key value store. The concept of PubSub comes in the agent world when you have something called ambient agent. So ambient agent or headless agent is agent that runs in the background, and you trigger it not with the chat interface where you go back and forth, but you can trigger it over a REST call once, or you can trigger it over messaging, for example. So this is where the Dapr PubSub concept comes in. Talking to external systems, there is today well-established protocol, model context protocol, MCP, which kind of replaces all kind of bindings. It's a universal protocol to talk to all kind of systems. I think the concept of secrets and property still, external configuration still remains, right? Rather than actors in the agentic systems, typically you have multiple agents that talk to each other, almost like an actors. And these agents are, well scoped. They have a specific model, instructions, context, but they can talk to each other using various methods. So different kind of hands-off, right? The concept of workflows comes in the form of agentic workflow. That means rather than a developer defining the flow of a workflow, you have a set of instructions you give to the agent, and the LLM decides what's that execution flow. That's one way of using workflows as an agentic workflow. The other way is you can use a workflow to orchestrate agents, right? So the concept of workflow is quite central, but it changes how it's defined. If we move forward to guardrails, for example, in pure Dapr, there is the concept of middleware that intercept every request and response, right? In the world of agents, that still applies, and guardrail is one example. For example, you can intercept every call to an LLM, every call to a tool, and decide whether the content of the message, whether that's valid or not. So you're guardrailing back and forth, what goes back and forth. So really, we think that to use Dapr easier in implementing agentic systems in any kind of agentic framework, we need to make Dapr easier to use with this kind of concept. So that's what Dapr for agents is, where we are defining these abstractions such as memory, handles, agentic workflow, etc., in Dapr. Now, these are not new APIs, by the way. We'll see next. These are basically extension to various SDKs, so you can use Dapr easily. Now, in this slide, which I think is the last one before Philin shows how this is working, So if you look at what we have today to use Dapr, right? We have language SDKs in different languages, Java, JavaScript, .NET, etc. But in addition to these pure SDKs, there are, let's call them framework extensions. This is how they're called in Python. For example, for Java, to use the Java SDK, there are extensions for Spring and Spring Boot, so it's easier to use the Dapr APIs using annotations. Similarly, there is a community project for Quarkus, so that you can use the Dapr APIs capabilities easily in Java. I'm not sure if there are specific extensions for JavaScript, Node.js, Express.js. But for example, I know for Python, there are extensions, for Fast API, Flask, and there is an extension for Workflow API, so that you can use annotations to define Dapr workflows, right? These are basically general purpose frameworks, and Dapr has extensions for that. And what Dapr for agents and Dapr agents is basically the effort to make Dapr easily usable by agentic systems. Dapr agents, as you know that, today that is being merged to Dapr, right? We moved the documentation, etc. That's a Python framework, so it's a full framework for implementing agents using all Dapr capabilities. If you move on the right-hand side, what we're going to show now is how you can use Dapr with other agentic frameworks, specifically OpenAI's Agent SDK. And I think even we have some examples with small agents from Hugging Face, but that's for another time. So if you want to use Dapr with another agentic framework, but you don't want to use Dapr agents, you can use these extensions. I think that's all I have. So Dapr for agents, it's really the effort, the initiative we call for enabling Dapr in other agentic frameworks. While handing off to Filinto, I wonder if there are any questions, and I'm curious if to know what kind of agentic frameworks people are using or looking at. If you're using one or exploring one, please comment so we have a better idea what the community is interested.
Yeah, exactly. So again, I hope you're watching this via YouTube, because YouTube is the place where we can actually regularly comment, and so we can actually see this. So yeah, if you're watching this via YouTube, feel free to respond. And if you're using agentic framework, let us know which one are you using. All right. While we wait for some responses there, I think we can move on with Filinto's part.
Okay, so let's continue from Bilgen's explanation. And so on the work that we have been kind of tackling, this initiative of looking of other agentic frameworks. I mean, we have Dapr agents, and we have a lot of nice features that there are in many other frameworks lacking, especially, I mean, the durability, or like the easy to switch state stores. Many of the agent framework, they're called sessions. So this is like an anatomy of what is an agent. An agent is a loop, very simple loop in one sense. You have an agent with a goal. You provide the agent with, as Billy mentioned, memory, or what is known as context. Context is just memory, short-term memory, long-term memory, and also like information of what tools you can use. I mean, what tool the agent has at its disposal, what other agent he can call, method, function, anything that will help the agent to fulfill the goal, the request that was given. So that's the context that usually is part of the agent. And you see nowadays very like a popular name now. It was prompt engineering, so now it's context engineering. So that's something very important. I mean, and you can see you have used any of the coding tools. This is where you can break or make your goal to be fulfilled properly. because the agents don't have, and you have a limit of how many tokens you can use. So that management of the context is very important. Then you also, an agent also have, we mentioned, a thing that it can execute to fulfill its role. And it can be, I don't know, container, functions, sandbox, anything. So that's something that's also there. And LLM, of course, any of the LLM providers. This is, it can be text, but it can also be images, video, things like that, if that's one of the goals of the agent. And then you also have a certain thing, how do you interact with the agent? Maybe you want to tell the agent, hey, stop, I want you to change. Maybe you have to signal that to the agent via event, things like that. Or maybe what Billy mentioned as ambient agents. You want to start, you have an agent, you want to start it, you can have pops up or an HTTP endpoint and things like that. So those are things that are usually part of what the agent is. The loop, a single loop that's just until you fulfill the goal or you have a max number of turns that you can take. But so where can we add Dapr, to make this agent life cycle better? We talk about context. So memory, of course, the state store is a very nice way to abstract how you store this conversation history. And Dapr provides so many different state stores. And most of these agent frameworks, you see you have usually memory for conversation or SQLite, some of them do have Postgres, but many of them stop there. Well, some of them actually use SQL Alchemy as a Python library. So you, in some way, you could have different databases, but it's not as abstracted as nicely as done with Dapr, also from a platform engineering point of view, where maybe the platform administrator can decide what's going to be used. So that's one thing that we can have Dapr added. Not for all of these in the context, maybe for certain kind of the part of the memory, because like RAG, things like that, we don't support vector right now, but you can run through, I think we do have some binding for some of them. So even those you will be able to use. And then you have to, we have the loop that we mentioned. We want to make the loop durable. So that's perfect for the Dapr workflows, where we can have a resilient system that will survive crashes. That, if you're running an agent, especially, maybe you're not running in your computer, maybe you're running in your cloud environment, and and that will probably break, and you don't want to start from scratch. So that's where the durability aspect that is brought by Dapr workflows is a perfect fit. So you have that, the workflows, and then you want to access the memory. So as we know, Dapr, you need the determinism. So you will need to be running activities to get that memory and store that. You can also, in some way, there's some duplication because the workflow you maintain state, but there are cases where you really need to access some of the context via activities. And then you need to run, I don't know, maybe a function that that might fail. You want to also run that as an activity, or the function might be running in a container or in a sandbox. It could be anything. Right now, there are so many sandboxes out there that are specialized for agents, because in many cases, the LLM will provide code to run. So you want to run, and you cannot trust that. So you want to run that in a sandbox. And again, that's a perfect place to use an activity as well. Also, the LLM code, you want activity as well, because that can fail. And then with workflows, you have retries for free. And then I mentioned event and hook. So all of these are things that where Dapr already have a solution in the microservice world that applies perfectly to the agent loop. Okay, so and we do have Dapr agents that have a lot of this already embedded, but as I mentioned, the issue is that many other frameworks that developers are using lack some of these functionalities. So how to add those to this different framework. And we started, as Billy mentioned at the beginning, we started with a small agent, we switched to OpenAI, and that's where we have pushed more. Okay. Main capabilities that we started with, again, tools converted to activities, session memory, also using state store. As we are running then in the deterministic loop, we have to run then in an activity to get that. But you get the reliability of Dapr, I mean, using the state store, and also like the huge variety of state store that you can use immediately. Then many of these agent frameworks, including Dapr agents, have agent tracing propagation. These two actually at the bottom were like where we have more issues because there were some missing functionality in Python SDK and durable tasks. But we have added this as part of this process. And one issue that we have with tracing is when you, between the boundaries between workflow and activities, workflow and child workflows, how to propagate that tracing information. I mean, workflows already provide some of this tracing, but mainly like trace parent, they don't provide more than that. And in some cases, you need more than that. And also right now we don't have, and I think that's hopefully coming in 1.17. We're trying to push for that. We don't have that trace information sent down to the SDKs. That will also help that. So, but we added the concept of interceptors, and I will kind of go into a little bit of detail on that. That will help to kind of to decide when you go from one boundary to another thing that you want to be executed. We already have interceptor at the gRPC level, but that's a much lower level, and this is a little bit higher level. And then the agent terms, how to convert the terms. Because, I mean, as I mentioned, we have this loop. It's a simple loop, as I mentioned, with certain things, some activities running this loop, but it's like a loop that will, in theory, run forever. Well, hopefully not, but well, in theory, because if you see ChatGPT, you can see your chats in the past. So you can continue the session that you were executing. So in theory, you are continuing that workflow. It's not a single workflow, it's more a session, but you can think like a single workflow in some way. But each turn that we mentioned, I mean, we have the workflow, but many of these agent frameworks, and this is, again, we have in the Python SDK or durable task, how we execute the deterministic of Python is that we use what is called generators. And most of the frameworks use async.io, and I mean, that's the most common way of coding in Python for like multiple things at the same time. Well, you have threading, but many people don't use threading for good reasons. So async.io doesn't work nicely with durable tasks. So we have to come up with a way to bridge this gap. So we convert the async.io code into a generator code that durable tasks can understand. Well, Python is very kind of, I mean, you can do a lot of changing and patching, so that's how we can do it. And probably you can do the same in JavaScript, but maybe not in other languages, like compiled languages. But these 2 points I just wanted to mention that were the one that took us longer. So let me just show you, well, this is going a little bit in detail of what happened. And also the agent tracing propagation. I mean, as I mentioned, going from the boundaries between the deterministic part to the non-deterministic, like workflows to activities, how to pass that context, or what is the the agents create spans or traces, how to handle that as well. So those are the things that we need to take into account. I mean, the one issue is that it's kind of very specific to each agent framework, but the mechanism that we have added to Python and durable tasks, like the sandboxing and the async IO bridge and the interceptors, will help us to do the same with other agent frameworks. So that it's been a lot of work, but it will pay out later on. Okay, so let's go through a little bit of the demo. And this will be like OpenAI Agent SDK. I don't know if any of you have used it, but OpenAI already includes like a tracing UI where you can see your execution of your agent. And that's what we will show you in a second. Oops, sorry. So let me see here.
While you were doing this, I'll just need to respond to some messages that Cecil was posting. And so, for instance, using, he mentioned, well, I'll just show it for using agents with Dapr. I think we need two things to be successful: framework integration, but also reference material around these usage patterns. So yeah, I think those are two valid things, right? So we need like good integration with the existing like language SDKs to make it really relevant for those developer audiences. But also examples are really important. So there's a lot of docs opportunity, I think, or also quick start opportunity to make this land really well within the community. Yeah.
Yes,
so
yes, for sure.
Help out in general to the audience, if you want to help out creating these reference materials or docs, feel free to reach out.
Yes, for sure, and we'll be adding. I mean, also like we on the work that we have been doing on durable tasks and Python SDK, we have been adding examples and more tests, of course, but for this new functionality. But yes, on the framework. That is something that will be coming. I wanted to kind of go here quickly. I mentioned the interceptors, and again, how to handle things that you want to propagate or even change between boundaries in a workflow. So the interceptors does provide. I mean, we could have gone with hooks, but in hooks, you sometimes cannot change the things that are going along, like the input to the next step or the output. And that's why and the interceptor concept from gRPC kind of is a good fit. And like here we have like when you do like a schedule new workflow, so we'll have, when you execute a schedule new workflow, there will be an interceptor that you can define. You don't have to, but in some cases you might want to define this interceptor that you will, like in this case, is the font size good? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. That here we say, okay, we have a trace, and I mentioned that right now, Dapr workflows, even though they have all the tracing capabilities, it's not wired yet to send it down to the gRPC that we could read. So, but when that's available, we can add here. But here we have to say, okay, so when somebody schedule a new workflow, we have to create a trace. Well, if there's a trace, so like if we were having those from the workflow, we might not need the trace. We just get the trace from the workflow, and then just create a span. But maybe, I mean, also the span is also in the workflow. So maybe we'll skip one span and we'll just go to the next. But this is what I mentioned, that then you can change the input in some way. Like this is like creating an envelope that you send to the next step in the interceptor or the output. In this case, we're just changing the input. And then we can propagate the tracing information properly. And we have this for several other of these boundary switches. Okay, so that's just wanted to show on the interceptor. On the async IO, well, if I mentioned here, like running the workflow. Well, it's not shown here, but the agent workflows are running with most of them with a weight that you will see everywhere, asyncio.xyz, and that's usually not possible to be done while using Python in the workflow. So that's why we need the bridge. Okay, so this is the demo, and this is all OpenAI agents. So this is not the framework. We're using OpenAI function tools. Here you can see, I don't know, you see agents, it's called agents. So this is not from Dapr. This is completely using the OpenAI agent SDK, just enhancing it with the Dapr mechanism for workflows and session. So here we have a session, and the session again is just a memory, like the history, the conversation history that we'll be using. In this case, we have a Redis as a state store, and we will be storing that conversation and reading and adding to the history while we go. And then we have a runner, and the runner is like a wrapper around the agent framework runner. Most of the agent frameworks have a runner of some kind. So the same concept of a wrapper of a Dapr adapter runner will be there. And here is the Dapr runner for OpenAI. We say what is the workflow, and in this case, we are converting tools to activities. So all these tools that are OpenAI tools, they will be converted into activities, so they'll be durable by default. And this is a very simple tool, of course, just printing whatever the LLM is asking for. And we have a very simple instruction, just call echo with the user message, send the output, and we provide the output. So let's run it and
A question, Linko,
yes.
for me. So if I'm using OpenAI, right, I would be creating this agent, which is from OpenAI SDK. And the only places where I'm adding Dapr is the Dapr session. So I'm providing implementation based on Dapr session.
Yes.
Implementation for the session and the runner, which will wrap the execution into workflow. That's all, right?
Yes, exactly. So and inside the runner, we call the Dapr, the OpenAI runner.
Sure.
But it will be inside the workflow. So let's run it, and the demo code will be on our side, hopefully. And this is just running. We are registering all the workflows. And here we just, again, is starting to sleep. I will say here, done sleeping, and that's pretty much it. That was the final output, very simple. If we now go to OpenAI, and this is the tracer that I mentioned. So this, I think I get this, right, I put the same name, I should put like an ID. But this was here, like right now, you can see. And this is the OpenAI UI. So we are interfacing pretty much by using all the OpenAI agent SDK mechanism. At the end, we're using OpenAI. We are not modifying the code. We're not forking it. We're just changing how it's executed. And you can see we have some spans, like when we start the workflow. Here is the memory, and this is what I mentioned earlier, that is a little bit duplicated because at the end, the workflow, we already have some of this there. But this was the easiest to start with, and we can see refining later. And this will be in our state store. So let me, hold on, see if I can put it here. Okay. And here is our state store. And this is our session. And here we can, oh, sorry that, I don't know if I can, oh, there it is. And this is the session that, the conversation history that we use during this demo. And it will have all the different calls, like when you see like let me see here, like when you see get history, will be getting from here, or when you see append history, it will be appending to the state store. And because we implemented the session interface to follow OpenAI session, it works fine. I mean, and that wasn't a that was one of the low hanging fruit, adding the conversation history using Dapr. Workflow was more difficult, of course. And so here, yeah, we have, as I mentioned, we execute the tool and we can see it here. And at the, I mean, this is all using, and again, trying to make the experience of using the other framework seamless. I mean, we're not trying to change the framework. We're trying to enhance it with Dapr. And yeah, let's try something more. So because, I mean, this is durable. I tried this earlier and it worked, so let's try again. So what we'll do is that we're going to run it as we have a sleep. We're going to break this and restart. And we should see, I mean, again, probably that I didn't put the different names. So, but we should see like two new traces, one for the one that we're going to break and we'll resume, and one for the new one. So let's do it. So once we hit the sleep, we can stop it. Okay. So here we get it. If we go here, so we see that right now we started and we stop here. We got we send the information to the LLM, and the LLM say, hey, let's call this tool with this input. But right now it is shut down. So, but as soon as we start it, it should be resuming from that point. Well, in this case, we are starting a new one, but it will also start resume any old one. So we have this here. You see now we continue, and we have the tool execution. I mean, what we expect from the Dapr workflow. That in most cases in this framework they don't have that. And as I mentioned, there will be a new one. It does, again, it's just the implementation that I have here. But you see, this is the one that we stopped 50 seconds, and this is the new one. Okay, so that's the demo. Let me
a question right
yes.
here. So if this was not wrapped with Dapr runner, well, what happens with OpenAI's agent? Have you tried that?
I mean, you have the session memory, depending, because I think you can select even SQLite. You're running locally. It is, I mean, hopefully your computer is not burned. You might be able to resume at the, I don't know at what point. I haven't tried that. That's the only thing.
So you have the session, but probably the execution.
Yeah. But you don't know the whole history. Like here, you can replay every piece if you needed to.
See.
Okay, so that was the demo. I mean, there's kind of not. I mean, there's more thing that we need to be adding. MCP is still missing, and also doing the agent hands-off. Again, these are just kind of executing tools in one way or another, but you just have to integrate that into this adapter for OpenAI. And yeah, I don't know, Bilgin, you want to take from here?
Yep. Go to the closing slides, and then we'll see if there are any questions. Really, we are making this to show how you can use Dapr with other agentic frameworks. That's the goal. Start with OpenAI, as that that framework is providing really good extension points for adding durability and other session implementations. So what are the benefits? What would you get if you add Dapr to OpenAI or other frameworks? As you see, the first one, which is no-brainer, really, you get a portable memory implementation backed by a key value. So these frameworks, for example, OpenAI, I think at this point it has very few session implementations. Right, by using Dapr, you get access to all the Dapr state stores straight away. Some other frameworks, for example, they are typically specializing around one cloud provider, so they have a maybe good integration with that, but they're not really portable. With Dapr, you get all that. The agents are getting, quite complex. They plan, they reason, they execute long chain of tool calls, LLM calls. So by making them durable, you make them more reliable, and they can continue execution if any kind of failure and restart happens, saving you execution time and cost, really. These are the two main benefits. And of course, if you add Dapr, you get also resiliency. For example, all interaction from the backend infrastructure, you can apply resiliency policies, you can apply Dapr security features and tracing. And lastly, one less talked about aspect is the way Dapr works is every agent will also get an identity, right? And with some of the recent features in Dapr 116, that means you can give access to the backing infrastructure, in this case, state store, workload store, without any kind of secrets. So we'll follow up on this topic in the future, but in the meantime, if you want to read more on identity and how it could apply to agents, my colleague Johnny has done a blog post last week. I have the links here, and I think Mark will share that. Where this is headed in terms of next steps, this is still work in progress, but I think Flinto is getting quite close to open a PR. This will be most likely become a Python SDK extension, similarly to Flask and other extensions we have in Python SDK. This will be OpenAI Agent SDK extension, and you'll be able to try it from there. Yeah, that's all we got. So if anyone in the community has any feedbacks, thoughts, want to give it a try, reach out to us on Discord.
Cool. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Cecil had one more question / comment. So combining agent workflows makes total sense, right? Because of the resiliency part. So do we have any ideas or thoughts on using certain patterns for agents with actors? I mean, it's related. It's not, of course, what we're doing at the moment. But
maybe Flinto has an answer what's happening behind the scene. But with these agentic frameworks, and the way we are adding workflow is that part is hidden from the user. For example, when you add Dapr runner to OpenAI SDKs, you won't see, on the UI or in the code anywhere workflows and actors. Still, this is backed by workflow, which means it's backed by actors behind the scene, but that's not exposed to the user unless you look into the tracing, etc. So actors are really implementation detail. I don't know if Flinto has seen any opportunity to apply actors to agents, without workflow.
Yeah, no, I mean, we have talked about that as an option, and Josh had mentioned this a few times, and it's mainly, I mean, with actors, you get identity, and you can get actors talking to other actors kind of seamlessly. I mean, the machinery is there. So those two scenes are very appealing. We have discussed it but there's nothing set.
Okay, yeah, I think clear. Yeah. And one more question from Cecil. What other frameworks are you considering other than OpenAI agents?
I mean, we've looked into a bunch, but really the decision we'll make is once this is done, right, and what's the potential interest from community. Some of the immediate other ones, like small agents, which we've already explored. I think Pydantic, for example, would benefit from the durable execution. The Amazon Strands is a good one. So these are some of the few that are on the radar, but we haven't started, any work. So it'll depend what the community is interested and what gaps Dapr can fill in these frameworks.
Yeah, exactly. So if people are very, very opinionated or like using one type of agent framework in very large numbers, then it will be like a good use case to look into other systems as well. Yeah.
Correct. And let's not forget, Dapr also has Dapr agents, which is our opinionated agentic framework. You can use that to get full, let's say the best integration with Dapr today, right? That's also an option. But we don't want to limit just for Dapr agents. We want to make sure that Dapr can be used easily with other frameworks as well.
Yeah. I think it's a great initiative. All right. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Let's move on. All right. I think it's time for the show and tell section. So you can kick it off, Dana.
Yes. Let's start first with upcoming events. So KubeCon is coming, and Diagrid will have a stand there. If I remember correctly, Mark, I think there is quite a lot of talks as well, 7, if I remember correctly. So that's all. It's very exciting.
Yeah. And there's like the open source booth as well.
Yes.
Indeed. Yeah. So please come in and join the open source booth if you're there in Atlanta. Yeah.
Yes, and a bit closer to home. So in the Netherlands, there will be a .NET event, and Eduard will give a presentation on how to glue .NET services with container apps in Dapr. So if you're in the area, check it out. It's an in-person event. Moving on to the next slide. So quite a lot of content like over the past few weeks related with Dapr. There was tutorial from Imran on how to build production-ready apps with Dapr and .NET Aspire. Then there was also another tutorial on how to build a chat app from Eduard. From Diagrid, Juni wrote an article on how to implement universal application identity. And then, a few more just to mention them quickly. Lauren wrote on how to decouple yourself from the different LLMs using Dapr Conversation, which is another feature of Dapr, core Dapr. And then Benjamin wrote on how to master microservices with Dapr. It's a really nice guide that goes in a lot of details on Dapr, Kubernetes, tracing. So
cool.
Check it out.
Super nice.
And quite a lot of videos over the last period. Of course, few on the new Dapr 1.16 version about the new features, improvements, etc. And then, quite a lot of tutorials as well on like what is Dapr, how it simplifies microservice development, etc. So check them out.
Yeah, so 1.16 was released. Was it like last week in detail?
Yes.
So there's a lot of 1.16 content out there now on
Very
YouTube.
nice to see.
So please have a look.
And a lot of buzz on social media about the new release. Also really nice to see. Also quite a lot of blog posts, about meetups, events, as well as things that people built with Dapr and like to share. So thanks for all the content. Passing the mic back to you, Mark, then on our Discord channel.
Yeah, just has some Discord highlights. Definitely want to say thank you with Waldo helping out on the workflow channel. So if you have questions about Dapr workflow or how to use it, or you run into issues, definitely need to check out the workflow channel on the Dapr Discord. Lots of people helping out there. So thank you, Wit, also as one of the maintainers, the SDK maintainers for .NET. So being super helpful there. I also wanted to point out the Ask AI channel. So that's a very new channel on our Dapr Discord, and we have like a tool there integrated called Kappa AI. And as you can see here, that you can ask Kappa AI questions about Dapr. And this is not just like backed by some LLM, which just has like access to all resources, but it's specifically fed with the Dapr docs and the Dapr GitHub repositories. So it has like very specific knowledge about Dapr. So it's like a bit of an experiment. Definitely verify, of course, what answers you get back, or ask inside the Dapr Discord as well. But yeah, I think it's nice to try this out and then see how quickly you can get some relevant results there. All right. Closing off with the Dapr community in general. There are lots of ways how you can be active in the Dapr community. We have a very big Discord, which is a great place. If you're like either very knowledgeable, you can help others, or if you're very new, you can ask your questions there. There's like a small section of people who are very active in the community and make a big impact. Those are the Dapr Meteors, and later this month we will review the nominations for the new Dapr Meteors this year. We do like monthly community calls now, and we also have a lot of resources. If you want to give a Dapr presentation, there are several Dapr slide decks that you can use. You can also collect a lot of different Dapr badges if you contribute to code or contribute to docs, or indeed do presentations or write blog posts. And of course, you can help contribute Dapr. So please be involved in that. And as a thank you for being a community supporter. Feel free to scan this QR to claim the community supporter badge. And thanks for joining again. And we would like to see you again in a couple of weeks.
Yes, thank you, everyone.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.